This is the Ask a Photographer podcast, answering your photography-related questions about general photography, workflow, editing, business, and marketing. To submit a question, go to beblino.com/ask. Hello, and thank you for listening to this week's episode. My name is Mike, and I'm from beblino.com. This week's question comes from Angus, and he's asking, I've been asked to photograph a friend's wedding. Should I do it? They like my street photography photos. I've taken photos of both of them before in the past just for fun. They have confidence in me, but I've never photographed a wedding before. I have all the equipment I need, including backup equipment. I'm not sure if I should do it or even how much I should charge them. Hey Angus, thanks for your question. This is a tricky one because it comes down to your confidence level here. Clearly your friends have trust in you, and they like your photography as a whole, which is excellent. And you have the equipment, by the sounds of things. It's really comes down to you of how comfortable you feel. There are going to be people that have been listening to this podcast who are professional photographers, and they're going to say, don't do it because you could stuff it up. And you know what? They're right. What they have to understand is sometimes brides and grooms that want photography done for their wedding ask friends because they want to save money, or they feel more confident with a friend doing it. Or thirdly, they don't value photography as a whole and they just want to get it done the cheapest way possible. Irrespective of that, and don't worry about people giving you negative advice and saying you not to do it, but what I think you should do is maybe use this as an opportunity to maybe think about doing wedding photography. Think of it this way, right? They're a friend. You could potentially offer this as a wedding gift to them. And by doing so, you can say, I am going to photograph your wedding. I have no prior experience. I will photograph a portion of the getting ready, the actual ceremony, of course, and a portion of the reception. After that, you're allowed to sit down, enjoy the meal, and enjoy the festivities. And I think that if you think of it that way, because you're not going to, because you asked if you should charge, and I think you shouldn't, especially if it being your first wedding. And if you offer it to them that way, and maybe even get them to sign maybe a one-page little document that says you're not going to charge, and you're only going to do it under these conditions, and I think that they would be understandable. I think anybody would be rapt to get photos, irrespective of how good or bad, for free. Okay, maybe not bad, but you know what I mean. It's the fact that they like your street photography, which a lot of wedding photography is candid moments, which is what happens in street photography. You're photographing people, sometimes with their knowledge, other times not. Some differences is that there are parts of the day that you have to command attention to what's going on. You may want to ask somebody to move to a particular part of the house if they're getting ready, to give them more flattering light. Or if you're doing group photos, you've got to get people in line and use the assistance of the bride and groom to wrangle, or even bridesmaids for that matter, or groomsmen to wrangle guests and family members into order. Get them to help you to set things up. I'm sure everybody wants the day to go smoothly, so don't think that you're on your own here. But just remember, if something does go wrong, you need to be able to solve issues quickly. Having backup equipment is one aspect that you need, and you mentioned that you have that. Having enough lenses and camera bodies and flashes and memory cards to last through the day. That's very, very important. I think if you are game, I think you should do it. If you've witnessed weddings before, you may have witnessed the ceremony, so you probably would have seen what the photographers are doing. You also, if you've been a part of a wedding, in the bridal party, you will see how the day kind of starts off and how it ends. And as you know, it does end quite late, which is quite important for you to set the amount of time that you are going to photograph. So there is no issues with people, with you just sitting down and people expecting you to be photographing when, you said you weren't going to photograph anymore. So just keep that in mind. And I think that if you explain these things to your friends, and they're obviously keen for you to take photos, I think that you will be fine, Angus. And, there are plenty of resources online. I know that they don't replace experience, but they will generally give you an idea. So Googling wedding photography and just seeing what some people show online will kind of give you a good idea. Visiting professional photographers' website and seeing their photos and seeing how they pose people, because that will be a small part of the day of you having to pose people. So I've been in business for over 12 years, and it wasn't until my 7th year in business that I started my portrait and wedding photography business. Up until that point, I was working towards it. I was doing small portraits and then small events which had, a few hundred people, and then up to 1,000 people, and so on and so forth. So I could manage large crowds and understood how to work long days and what I needed to organize. So I know being your first, if you do a first wedding, all these, there'll be a million things you got to think of. But I think that if you just go with the flow and not get in anybody's way, and only pose when there's moments of needing to be posed, like the group photos and some of the bridal party photos, and the added bonus for you is they're friends. So potentially you're friends with their friends, and interacting with them is not going to be such a big problem. In fact, some of the weddings that I've dealt with where I've known extended family or even friends of the bride and groom, the day has gone so much more cruisier. Everyone understands you're there for a reason, and people are more relaxed, and they know that you're there for, to get the best photos for them. So you may want to think about it if this is something that you're potentially thinking of doing in the future. And if not, well, then it's one wedding that you did, and one wedding potentially that could have told you not to continue a career in wedding photography. Thanks for your question, Angus. I hope that helps, and good luck. If you have a question that you'd like featured on the show, go to biblino.com/ask to submit your question. I'd love to hear what you think of the show by going to iTunes or Stitcher and giving me a review and a rating. And don't forget to subscribe so you get notifications of new episodes. Thanks for listening. Until next time, get out and take more photos. Oh, look, it's a cat in front of a sunset.